It was an ordinary night, one of those where the silence feels heavier than usual. After a long and exhausting day, I decided to order food through an app. I chose a burger, something simple, quick, and matching the laziness that had taken over me. The order was confirmed, and the app showed that the delivery driver was already on the way. Everything seemed normal until it wasn't. I received the first notification. Your order is 5 minutes away. I went to the window to see if I could spot the motorcycle, but the street was deserted. I didn't think much of it. Perhaps the driver was stuck at a traffic light or had taken a wrong turn. 15 minutes later, another notification popped up. Your order has arrived. But when I looked out the window again, there was no one there. I grabbed my phone and called the delivery number, something I'd never had to do before. After a few rings, the call was answered, but no one spoke. I could only hear heavy breathing, labored and deliberate, as if the person on the other end was trying to scare me. I said hello several times, but there was no response. After a few seconds, I heard a sound like someone scratching metal, as if fingernails were scraping across a rusty surface. I froze, chills running down my spine, and hung up. I thought about reporting it on the app, but before I could open the chat, I received a message. It was from the delivery driver's number. The message read simply, "I'm at your door." My heart started racing. Slowly, I got up and went to the front door. I pressed my eye against the peephole but saw nothing, just the emptiness of the dimly lit hallway. I looked out the living room window again and noticed something strange. A motorcycle was parked on the sidewalk. It was the same bike as in the app photo with the delivery box attached behind it, but there was no one around. I tried convincing myself it was a mistake, that maybe the driver had left the bike there to grab something. But why would he say he was at my door? And that sound on the phone, it wouldn't leave my mind. I sat on the couch trying to calm myself, but unease wouldn't let me. Minutes later, I heard a soft but unmistakable sound. Footsteps. Someone was climbing the stairs of the building, slowly, step by step. The sensation of being watched was unbearable. I went to the door again, this time staying silent, holding my breath, straining to hear anything. The footsteps stopped right in front of my door. What happened next was even worse. A light, almost delicate knock came from the wooden door. It didn't sound like a delivery driver's knock. It was rhythmic, as if playing with me. I waited for the person to say something, but there was no sound at all, just that oppressive silence, broken only by my rapid breathing. I mustered the courage to ask, "Who's there?" No answer, just another knock, louder this time. I looked through the peephole again, and what I saw nearly made me faint. There was a shadow, but it wasn't clear. The figure was hunched over, as if trying to hide its face. But what terrified me most was the hand resting on the door. It was pale, almost translucent, with long, dirty nails. I stepped back immediately, making no noise. I grabbed my phone and dialed the police, but before I pressed the call button, the knocking stopped. Silence returned, but it was even heavier. I waited a few minutes, frozen, before finally gathering the courage to look through the peephole again. There was no one there. I went to the window to check on the motorcycle. It was still there, but now the delivery box was open. From where I stood, I could see something inside, but it wasn't food. It looked like a piece of fabric, something that didn't make sense. I decided to wait a little longer before doing anything. Maybe the delivery driver had left the motorcycle and gone elsewhere. About half an hour later, I received another message. "Did you like the gift?" My stomach turned. Whoever it was knew I had been watching. I locked all the doors and windows, turned off the lights, and hid in the furthest corner of the apartment. I called the police and explained what was happening. They said they'd send a patrol car to check. While I waited, I heard something I'll never forget. A whisper coming from the hallway. It was so faint it was almost inaudible, but it seemed to say, "I see you, I ran to the bedroom, locking the door behind me. I grabbed a knife I'd brought from the kitchen and curled up, trying to control the panic. The police arrived about 20 minutes later. When they opened the building's front door, they found the motorcycle abandoned. Inside the delivery box was a piece of dirty cloth, wrapped around something. Upon unwrapping it, they discovered a small human bone. There was no sign of whoever had left it there, nor of the delivery driver. The phone number was disconnected, and the app no longer had any record of the order. It was as if it had never existed. To this day, I don't know what happened that night. I don't know who was at my door, what they really wanted, or why they chose me. But I know one thing: I never ordered food through an app again. It was a cold, rainy night, the kind of night that makes anyone prefer staying at home. Exhausted from work and too lazy to cook, I decided to order food through an app. I chose a pizza and finalized the order. Everything seemed normal, and all I wanted was something warm to eat and to forget the terrible day I'd had. The app notification appeared, saying the order was being prepared. While waiting, I watched a movie in the living room. About half an hour later, I received another notification. The delivery driver is on the way. I opened the tracker on the app and saw the motorcycle icon moving across the map. It wasn't far, so I figured it would arrive quickly. A few minutes later, the app notified me, "Your order has arrived." I went to the door and waited to hear the sound of the doorbell or a knock on the wood, but nothing happened. I waited a bit longer, thinking the driver might be parking the bike or checking the address. Still, the silence persisted. I decided to open the door and take a look. The hallway of my building was empty, except for the faint smell of dampness that always lingered in the air. There was no sign of anyone, not even the pizza. I went back inside and checked the app. It was marked as delivered. I decided to call the delivery number. The call was answered on the first attempt, but the voice on the other end was strange. It didn't sound natural. It was hoarse and distant, as if speaking through an old radio. All he said was, "It's already there." Before I could respond, he hung up. The unease started to grow. Something didn't feel right. I went to the window to check the street, expecting to see a parked motorcycle, but the street was completely deserted. Not a soul in sight. It was as if the delivery driver had never arrived. I went back to the couch, trying to convince myself it was some mistake. Maybe he had left the order at the front desk or the wrong house. I was about to call the restaurant when I heard a sound coming from the kitchen. It was a low noise, like something being dragged across the floor. My body froze. The kitchen was dark, and I knew I hadn't left anything there that could make that noise. I got up slowly, trying not to make a sound, and walked to the kitchen. The light was off, and the darkness felt thicker than usual. When I turned on the light, everything was in its place. There was no sign that anything had been moved. But on the floor, right in the center, was something that hadn't been there before. A pizza box. My heart raced. The box was plain, with no restaurant logo. There were no labels or identification. I picked it up carefully, almost expecting something to jump out of it. When I opened it, the smell hit me first. It wasn't the warm, inviting smell of pizza. It was a strong, metallic odor mixed with something rotten. Inside the box was a piece of raw meat, covered in a dark liquid that dripped down the sides. Next to it was a small note. The words on the note were written in uneven, almost childlike handwriting. "You've been served." A chill ran down my spine. I dropped the box on the counter and stepped back, trying to process what was happening. I immediately called the restaurant, but they denied my order had ever been dispatched. They said the assigned delivery driver hadn't even arrived at the restaurant to pick up the pizza. Panic set in. Who had brought that box? And how had it appeared in my kitchen? I locked all the doors and windows, trying to ignore the feeling of being watched. But then my phone vibrated. It was a message from the delivery driver's number. "Did you like what I prepared for you?" It was followed by another message seconds later, a photo of my window taken from outside. My vision blurred for a moment, and I almost dropped the phone. Whoever it was, they were close enough to see me. I called the police immediately, explaining what was happening, though it was hard to sound convincing. Still, they promised to send a patrol car. While waiting, I went to my bedroom, locked the door, and sat on the floor, clutching a kitchen knife. The silence in the house was oppressive, broken only by the occasional sound of rain tapping against the window. Then I heard it. 3 soft knocks on the bedroom door. I held my breath. My heart felt like it would burst out of my chest. Whoever it was, they were inside the apartment. The knocks came again, louder this time. I couldn't respond or move. After a few seconds of silence, I heard the same hoarse voice that had answered the phone. "Open the door. I forgot to give you dessert." I don't know where I found the strength, but I started screaming. I pounded on the door, trying to scare off whoever was there. Then I heard quick footsteps retreating. The police arrived a few minutes later. They searched the entire apartment but found no one. The delivery driver was never identified, and the phone number simply ceased to exist. Since that night, I haven't been able to sleep properly. I always feel like I'm being watched, as if he's still nearby, waiting for the right moment to return. And I never ordered food through an app again. It was a stifling night, the unbearable heat making every minute feel like an eternity. After an exhausting day, I decided to order food through an app. I chose a restaurant I was familiar with and completed my order. While waiting, I settled on the couch, trying to find something on TV to distract myself. The app notified me that the delivery driver was on their way, and as usual, I started tracking the route on the map. The motorcycle was moving toward my house, but something seemed off. The driver's name and photo were displayed in the app. He was a young man with a slight smile and a helmet beside him. However, the motorcycle icon moved erratically, as if it were wandering back and forth on nearby streets without a clear path. I thought he might be lost, but before I could consider calling him, I received the notification, "Your order has arrived." I immediately got up and went to the door. I waited for the doorbell or a knock, but nothing happened. I looked through the peephole and saw a man standing there, holding a delivery bag. He wasn't wearing the restaurant's uniform or even a thermal bag, which was already strange. He was dressed in dark clothes, and his face was partially obscured by the shadow in the dimly lit hallway. Taking a deep breath, I opened the door. He smiled, but there was something wrong with that smile. It was too wide, almost artificial, like he was trying to mimic a friendly expression without actually feeling anything. He handed me the bag and stood still, staring. That's when I noticed the bag was completely empty. No food, no utensils, nothing. Confused, I asked, "Did you bring the wrong order?" He kept smiling, not saying a word. He simply tilted his head slightly to the side, as if studying me. A chill ran down my spine, and I instinctively took a step back. Before I could close the door, he wedged his foot between it and the frame. "That's not how you thank someone for a delivery," he finally said. His voice was low, almost a whisper, but there was something in it that made my heart race. I said I was going to call the restaurant to check the order, but he slowly shook his head, still smiling. "You don't need to call anyone. I'm here for you." Those words echoed in my mind like an alarm. Without thinking twice, I forced the door shut with all my strength, pushing him back just enough to lock it. My heart was pounding, and my hands were trembling so much that I could barely turn the key in the lock. I went to the living room, grabbed my phone, and called the app support team. I explained what had happened, but their response made my blood run cold. The driver assigned to your order canceled before picking up the food. The order was never sent. My legs almost gave out. Who was the man who showed up at my door? And how did he know I had placed an order? Before I could think further, I heard a noise coming from the back door of my house. A faint creak, as if someone were trying to turn the doorknob. I grabbed a kitchen knife and went to the back door, trying not to make any noise. The lights were off, and the hallway felt darker than usual. I peeked through the window next to the door and saw a silhouette. It was him, the man who wasn't a delivery driver. He stood there, motionless, staring directly at the door, as if he knew I was on the other side. Suddenly, he started knocking on the door, slowly, rhythmically, as if keeping time. Each knock seemed louder than the last, echoing through the house. My instincts told me to run, but my legs were frozen. Then he stopped. The silence that followed was even worse. I rushed back to the living room and called the police. While explaining the situation, I heard footsteps along the side of the house. I ran to my bedroom and locked myself in, still clutching the knife. The operator told me to stay on the line, but the call was interrupted by a text message on my phone. It was from an unknown number. "You shouldn't have closed the door." The police arrived about 20 minutes later, though it felt like an eternity. When they opened the front door, they found no one. They searched the area around the house and discovered muddy footprints near all the windows, as if someone had tried to look inside. But the most disturbing find was at the back door. A note taped to it, made with letters cut from magazines. It read, "I'll be back to finish the delivery." Since that night, my life has completely changed. I installed security cameras, replaced all the locks, and rarely stay home alone. But even with all these precautions, I still feel like I'm being watched. I don't know who that man was, what he wanted, or how he knew about my order. But one thing is certain. He's still out there, waiting for the right moment to return. It was a Friday night, and I was exhausted. After a grueling week at work, all I wanted was a quick dinner and a series binge. I decided to order food through an app, something I did frequently. I chose a nearby restaurant, completed the order, and threw myself on the couch, waiting for the delivery. The notification popped up quickly. "Your order is being prepared." The estimated time was 30 minutes. In the meantime, I put on a movie, but my anxiety made me check the app several times. When I saw the delivery driver was on their way, I felt a momentary sense of relief. His name and photo appeared. An ordinary-looking man with a slight smile. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary. A few minutes later, I received another notification. "The driver is nearby." I went to the window and looked out at the street, expecting to see the motorcycle. The neighborhood was quiet, and the streetlights flickered occasionally, creating an almost eerie atmosphere. But there was no sign of the delivery driver. The app's icon showed he was parked in front of my house. I went to the door and waited to hear the doorbell, but everything remained silent. I decided to open the door to check. There he was, standing on the sidewalk holding the delivery bag. What unsettled me immediately was that he didn't move when he saw me. He just stood there, motionless, his eyes fixed on me. I took a deep breath and stepped forward, trying not to appear uncomfortable. "Good evening," I said, forcing a smile. He responded with a slow nod, never breaking eye contact. When I moved closer to take the bag, he finally spoke. "You like living here, don't you?" The question caught me off guard. It was a strange comment, but I replied with a brief, "Yes, it's a nice place." He smiled, but the smile didn't seem genuine. There was something unsettling about the way he was watching me, as if he knew something I didn't. "A lot of people pass through here," he continued, handing me the bag. "Some stop to look. Others just watch from afar." I didn't know how to respond. I took the bag and quickly thanked him, trying to end the interaction. But before I could close the door, he said something that made my heart freeze. "By the way, your favorite plant is the fern, right?" I froze. How did he know that? It was a small but intimate detail. My ferns were inside the house, out of view from anyone on the street. I tried to keep my composure and asked, "How do you know that?" He just shrugged, with the same unsettling smile, and slowly walked away. I slammed the door shut and locked all the bolts. My heart was racing. I decided to brush off the incident, thinking maybe he had seen the plants in a photo on social media or something. But deep down, I knew there was more to that interaction. While I was eating, I received a text message on my phone. It was from an unknown number. "Did you enjoy the food? I hope you added the extra sauce you always ask for." A chill ran down my spine. The extra sauce was something I never mentioned in the app. I always wrote it in the special instructions, but it was a detail that shouldn't have been shared with anyone besides the restaurant. I replied with a curt, "Who is this?" and waited. A few minutes later, another message came. "Just someone who likes to know more about you. That was too much." I called the app support team and explained the situation. They apologized and said they would investigate, but didn't provide any concrete information. While I was on the phone with the representative, I heard a noise outside my window. I ran to look but saw nothing, just the wind rustling the trees. The night dragged on. Every sound seemed amplified, every shadow darker. When I finally managed to fall asleep, I was awakened by a sharp sound from my phone. It was a new message from the same number. "You're sleeping so deeply. It's almost like you trust me." The message was accompanied by a photo of me, taken through my bedroom window. My body froze. I grabbed my phone and called the police, barely able to articulate the words. They said they would send a patrol car immediately. While waiting, I stayed in the farthest corner of the room, all the lights off, clutching my phone. When the police arrived, they searched the area around the house but found no one. The phone number used for the messages was disconnected, and the delivery app couldn't locate the driver who had been assigned to my order. It was as if he had never existed. The following days were tormenting. I installed security cameras, changed the locks, and tried to move on with my life. But every so often, I'd receive anonymous messages, always with intimate details about me. "Your new curtains match the sofa," or "You look so focused while you're working." The police never discovered who was behind it, and the delivery app denied any involvement. To this day, I don't know who that man was or how he knew so much about me. But one thing is certain, he's still out there watching, waiting. And every time my phone buzzes, I feel the same chill I felt that night.